All right, welcome to episode, it doesn't really matter at all, Retro Game Club podcast. I'm Hugh, and joining me is someone who is trying to avoid that plague of locusts that's in the news right now, Rob.
By avoid, you mean stay inside and play video games?
Yes. Yes, I'm referencing that because we don't know when this episode is going to air, and we're recording this in early 2023. It's already kind of a wacky year, so locusts, I don't know. What, you got any predictions for news items this year?
Yeah, stuff that may have already happened. Let's see. I'm going to go with Dreamcast 2. I'm going to go with Atari VCS 2. And I'm going to go with Switch 2 to see if I could go for 3. Okay.
All right. I'm going to go with Amico gets a new release date and they miss it.
Yeah, it's probably not far off.
I just watched like the most brutal takedown video of the Amico. I know you're a backer, so I'm not trying to like dunk on you or anything, but
no. It kind of is what it is, right?
Yeah, no, I did not back it. I looked at it, I said that's kind of a neat idea, but I'm not going to pre-order it. I'll wait to see if they actually finish it. And Pat the NES Punk, if you're familiar with him, just did like a pretty brutal takedown video in January of 2023 if you're going back through his videos to figure out when he did that. Playing back a lot of clips from like the people who are hyping it on YouTube and that kind of stuff. I don't know. Neat idea for a system. Like I actually would legitimately probably like the system if it was real. But it seems that it will not be real.
It seems like at this point it could be release the controllers and a game pack that they work with on systems. So you can still have that cool controller experience. People were kind of hating on those controllers, saying like they only have, the CPU power of, something that doesn't have much CPU power and only a few K of memory. But all it has to do is register a few buttons and blink a few lights. So I don't see why the controller would need much more.
Yeah. I heard that's their hardware problem, though, that the controllers have horrible lag and don't actually work.
I heard that, too. It's so hard to know what's true. And also, it's funny that the only people that really don't dunk in it are the people that got one to test. I can't tell if those people were paid or if it's legit. We're not there, so we can't say. Well, we can't say either way.
Okay. My personal opinion is that it's not legit. Is that fair?
Because, I mean, in the Rebecca Heineman interview, she said, like, I had one for a while. It works. I made a game for it. Like, she seemed confused why it wasn't releasing. But also, that was only, a 10-second conversation.
It seems like, the company that's called Atari gets My Arcade to pump out stuff all the time, or at least they have like 3 things coming out this year, or maybe already out by now. Who knows?
Yeah.
So it seems like you could just, if you owned the IP for Intellivision, you could be like, hey, My Arcade, can you make a thing that says Amico on the front and plays Night Stalker?
Exactly.
And declare victory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's a lot of things they could be doing there. Again, I'm not really sticking up for them. I'm just saying I don't know. But
yeah. As long as this all ends with me buying the Intellivision IP at some sort of like, crazy bankruptcy auction for pennies on the dollar, then I'm happy.
I just can't believe they haven't gotten into NFTs yet, which they probably have since recording this episode.
Wait, didn't they claim their games were NFTs?
I don't know.
I thought that was one of their early claims, that like you bought a physical game and it was also an NFT or something.
You could buy a box with a QR code or something on it where you would download the games.
That should have been the first sign that maybe something was up.
Well, we have a little series here of episodes that I think the first 2 are going to be used while I'm traveling, and then the third one whenever. So Hugh, how would you explain this little mini series we're doing?
It is about video game shows. That's the entire explanation. So we looked for video game shows that we've actually watched, like when they were new shows. And we're just going to kind of review them a little bit.
Yeah, and the first one was your pick. This is part one, and you want to intro it?
Yeah, so I picked a Starcade episode. So for people who have somehow never listened to the show before, know that I'm a big fan of the old 80s game show called Starcade. And the premise was two people, although later on it would be like, parent-child teams as well, compete to see who can score the most points in different video games. So it starts off, there's like 5 cabinets they can choose from. And they ask a video game trivia question. And whoever gets the question right gets to pick which game they compete in first. So in theory, you would be picking the games that you think you're best at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In theory. That didn't play out in this case, I don't believe.
No.
And then there's a bonus game where they show you 5 game screens and you have to name them all. It's multiple choice, so it's not very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you might not know the name of the game, but like there'll be like a game where like there's a spaceship flying around blasting stuff, and they'll be like, is this Burger Time or Defender? And you're like, well, I've never heard of Defender somehow, but doesn't look like Burger Time. So you can do pretty well at that game. And then whoever wins gets 30 seconds to play a game, and they have to score some number of points that's pretty hard to score in 30 seconds.
And they say that it's an average of 20 or 30 people that have played this game. They haven't said who those people are.
Right. Billy Mitchell could have been one of them.
Yeah, and then the game dev as well. Yeah.
Right. So, like, regardless of what you think of Billy Mitchell, he did make a lot of like crazy high scores back around this time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't think he was the tester because he probably would be on the show. He's very good at self-promotion.
Yeah.
In addition to early arcade games. So anyhow, and then if you complete that challenge, you win an arcade cabinet.
So out of all the episodes, how did you pick this one, which was what, episode 12?
I picked it because it had games that I think everybody knew. So a lot of these episodes, one of the arcade cabinets will be something that like you just don't remember at all.
Mm-hmm.
The first one I watched when I was trying to pick one had an arcade game, and it was so obscure I already forgot the name. And it was sort of a spy hunter-ish type of game. Because you're in a car, and you're driving on land, and you can also drive on water. And there seems to be a time limit. I can't remember the name of the game now. But I picked this one because every game on it, I think, is something people can relate to. Mm-hmm. And watch the strategy of the players and say, okay, I could do better than that. Or, you know what? I think on every one of these, you could do better.
Yeah, there's no or. Yeah, these people choked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they both choked, especially the one guy. So there's 2 contestants, John and Sarah were their names.
Mm-hmm.
And John was very, very confident that he was going to completely obliterate Sarah.
You could almost say cocky and smug.
Yes, I would say those things. I did find he has been interviewed about this episode later on, and has a much more humble attitude about it today.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. He says, he still has, that's what, I don't know if his term was nightmares, but that, it's still kind of a running joke to people, for people that know him, how like overconfident he was in this game versus how he actually did.
Well, I like a good redemption story.
Yeah. He's unsurprisingly an IT professional today.
Shocking.
So my first question is the general concept that we just explained. Do you think this is something that would work today?
I do. Maybe not in this exact format, but I would love to see an age where this kind of entertainment explodes on Twitch and YouTube. Yeah. New stuff. People, I don't know if they're making it from their home, but they're making it with consumer grade electronics, and I could see people knocking it out of the park.
Okay.
Which you probably don't, if you follow, remember Tom Green?
Yes.
He still does stuff, but he literally set up a stage and stuff at his house. So he literally started doing that stuff out of his house. And it was actually kind of funny. So I could see that kind of thing.
Okay.
We should mention that on social media and in our show notes, there will be a link to this episode. So You could, watch
Yeah,
long, watch before, watch after.
you can watch this online. Yeah. Yeah, this whole series used to be on archive.org, but it all got taken down. It was like high quality videos too. So whoever owns the Starcade IP apparently took it down.
Yeah, and when I clicked on your link to this, it actually gave me a certificate error. I had to go to the site manually, and then I saw in the file name it was episode 12, so I just went to episode 12 and it worked. But yeah, so if that happens to anyone, just do that. But so you asked me that question if I think it would work today. What do you think?
I'm thinking live event at like a modern arcade, like Galloping Ghosts.
Mm-hmm. That would be great.
Because you have to have like the real cabinets, and you have to have like, I don't know, like you just pick 5 cabinets at random. I probably can't be completely at random because the scoring is really weird. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of like how you would balance the scoring out in the games. Because like, if there's you play each game for like 60 seconds. If there's some game where you can score like 30,000 points in 60 seconds, and the other player scores 20,000 points, and then the remaining games, there's just no possible way to score 10,000 points in them. Because some games are really high scoring at the beginning and others aren't. So there's probably more science to it than I'm giving them credit for. Because you have to figure out how to do that balance. Yeah.
I could see this working for pinball too. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. People are pretty evenly matched with pinball, I assume.
And the scoring is always just crazy high in all of them. So,
well, yeah, especially the modern ones. I mean, I think I played Metallica pinball, and I got like 8 trillion points on my first game.
In 2 minutes, yeah.
2 minutes, yeah. It was comical how the scoring in that game in particular worked. Anyway, so like all these games have every episode has at least one game that I'm not familiar with, and I tried to pick an episode where people knew all the games that were being played. But the game that you won, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. I've been a little bit under the weather. The game that you won was something called Wacko, which no one had to play. But do you remember Wacko?
I have never seen one of these in the wild. So do you want to describe the cab, or do you want me to?
Well, I didn't study the cabinet. I just looked at the screenshots.
Okay, well, the cabinet is Wacko because it's like bright blue and white, and the control panel is at like a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
And it has kind of weird sticks on it. The whole the top of the cabinet's at a different angle. I'm not sure if like the CRT monitor inside is at an angle or not.
That looks straight.
Well, the cabinet itself seems annoying for everyone. It seems annoying for the manufacturer, the delivery guy, the arcade maintenance guy, and the person playing the game. Now, I've never seen one of these in the wild. I don't think I ever played this game. It seemed a little familiar, but I did watch some YouTube video on it, and it looks kind of fun. What do you think?
Well, so the cabinet would be good if you were doing 2-player mode and you were like drastically different heights.
Yeah, like a Schwarzenegger DeVito situation.
Yeah. So I think it would work for that. I thought that the aliens in it looked like the bar stage from Tapper. And now I don't know which of these came first.
It's kind of the same color palette too.
Yeah.
So
it uses both a trackball and controllers too to make things even more confusing.
And it's sort of a matching game. So you have to shoot 2. How does it work? You shoot 2 monsters that look the same, and at one right after another, and then they'll go away. They'll die. But if you shoot 2 that are different, their different body parts will swap. So you have to shoot those 2 again or something.
You have to unmix them, it says. Yeah.
Yeah. And then sometimes they'll burst into little monsters, so you have to kill all the big monsters first before you could attack the little monsters. It's kind of a unique, cool little setup.
Yeah. And as the description says, each pair of zapped monsters will then turn into babies. Once they've been zapped, the babies turn into eggs, and the eggs turn into bats.
I mean, that's the circle of life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's safe to say I might have this on like a midway collection, just forgot about it. Maybe not, because the controls are so weird. Maybe they didn't bother porting it. But I would, listen, I'll be really blunt. If I was on this episode of Starcade, I would tank in the last game. literally tank, so I didn't have to take that thing home.
Yeah, if it was almost any other game, because it seemed pretty ridiculous. So apparently, yeah, this is on Midway Arcade Treasures 2 for GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox, and then Midway Arcade Treasures Deluxe.
Oh wow! I hold on, I have that game. Oh yeah, there it is, Wacko, right up there on the game list.
That'll have to become a Game Club game.
No, it will not. All right. So let's talk about the game itself. So what games did these people pick? They picked. I think John won the first question, and he picked Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Star Trek's a game I remember thinking looked like really awesome. And then I watched the gameplay. I'm like, oh, actually, that looks kind of annoying. What? Do you remember Star Trek, the arcade game?
Yeah. I hate making this comparison, but it seems from far away, it seemed like it wanted to be Star Wars Arcade, which I think Star Wars Arcade came out after. I could be wrong. Please don't correct me if I am. But it's just not as good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back and play it because it's been many years. I think the last time I played it was actually at Galloping Ghost, if I remember right. But yeah, and he did pretty good in it. He got a pretty good score. And then didn't she just come in and got him by like 50 points or something?
Well, somehow, yeah. I mean, she won in every game.
Yeah,
I think at the last game, John technically won, but he was like in such a deep hole at that point that it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was close before that.
Yeah. So let's see. Second game they competed in was Millipede.
And it was like none of them had played that was hard to watch. It was like none of them played it.
Yeah.
Because with Centipede and Millipede, just hold down. They kept hitting the fire button, and you just hold it down and let her rip. Especially if you're just doing like a 30-second thing.
Yes. But the real humiliation for John, at least, was Qbert. That one. And when I looked at the later interview with him, that's what he calls out his poor Qbert performance.
Yeah, I mean, all you had to keep doing is getting what's a snake called? Is that Coily?
Coily, yeah.
Yeah, you just had to keep getting Coily to jump off and rack up the 1,000 points.
Yeah, and he completely whiffed and did not get Coily.
No, he just kept jumping off anywhere.
Jumping off, and then he jumped off at the end. Yeah, it was not a great performance. The crowd noises. You made a note about the crowd noises. I think those were I think that was canned.
You think so?
That was really. It reminded me. I know you're not a big pro wrestling fan, but back in the 80s, this promotion WCW, they used to run their show on TBS, and it was in basically a sound studio. And there was a live crowd there, but it was like, 20 people off the streets in Georgia, right? Like literally, it was just like a crowd. It was like just sort of the first two rows had people sitting there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they filmed it in Georgia, so it's just whoever they got to show up.
Yeah.
But the crowd noise was like, kickoff of the Super Bowl.
Well, this show debuted on WTBS, which eventually became TBS, so it might literally be the same crowd noise.
It could be the same because they have the countdown, and for wrestling, they probably have a crowd doing countdown too in their catalog. Because you never see the studio audience, right?
No, and I've been to studio filmings before, and they'll have, if it is a live audience like I was in, they'll have like a hype person that you'd never see on camera that tells you when to applaud and how long and how loud and stuff. So it doesn't seem like that was happening because it was kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah. And the crowd was just, you couldn't fit that many people in that studio.
Yeah.
It was just loud. So, and then at the end, Sarah ended up winning. She was there with her. Actually, she had a little 3 or 4 year old kid who came out at the end too. Mm-hmm. I think one of the prizes was a bike, so maybe that was the motivation. I don't know, win a bike for your kid or something.
Can we talk about the prizes?
Yeah, let's talk about the prizes.
Okay, so the prizes were really hit and miss. Mm-hmm. So the middle prize, there was a prize after kind of every series, I guess, and obviously Wacko would be the last prize. But we'll get back to that. I think the first prize was a bunch of Atari 2600 games, which was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that was like 12 of them or something. Yeah,
yeah, the whole box of them. Yeah.
The second prize was a cordless phone, which, hey, in '82, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
you know. The third prize, I think, was that BMX bike, which looked pretty cool. That was a Redline, which is actually a pretty good brand. And then a financial calculator, like the one that has like paper.
Yeah.
like for taxes.
Paper, yeah.
So she won that too.
And there was a chess game, like a early
right.
AI chess game with movable pieces, and the computer, I guess, would light up what the move was supposed to be.
That's right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was a pretty regular prize on that show.
Not a fun prize for me. I don't know.
No, I can barely beat the Atari 2600 chess.
Yeah, me too. And then to get Wacko, she had to, like we said, they had 20 people play Burger Time, and she had to get their average, which was like what, like 1,200 or something, right?
Yeah, I wrote it down. Hold on, what was it? 1,240 points in 30 seconds.
And she didn't even get close.
No, I don't think she knew what the rules of Burger Time were.
Yeah, well, the first thing she did was pepper. Like she didn't know what that button even did. So
yeah,
if I was playing Burger Time for 30 seconds, I would just run straight to the top, get everyone on, try to get one at least peppered on top of them and start, bringing down the buns. And
because it's only 30 seconds, so you have to worry about running out of pepper. So
exactly,
you can use it to trap the hot dog or egg or whatever. Because I think if you get 4 of them on one bun and drop it, that's like 4,000 points by itself.
Yeah. So
which in like 30 seconds, that's a little tough because they move so slow.
Yeah, but if you got like 2 on there,
Yeah, I think you'd be okay. Yeah. I think I need to try this. I think we should fire up Burger Time and see if we can actually get. It's a little different. Like now we have I'm sure I could find a YouTube video on how to score 1,240 points in 30 seconds on Burger Time. Like there's tutorials that specific out there.
And then you could walk home with Wacko.
Yeah, which I would leave on the curb.
Yeah. What else? I mean, how did they pick that game? Did they just need to get rid of some of them? Like, do you think they just gave it to her anyway?
It could be they need to get rid of it. I mean, I kind of suspect it's sponsored. Like it was probably a newish game when they were filming, and this was a way to get some publicity for it.
If I remember right, they didn't even show gameplay of it. They just showed the cap.
Yeah, they showed a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, but by putting it up there and making it seem like a big prize that, gives you, I mean, if I was the manufacturer of Wacko, I guess that's Midway or whoever, like you're kind of putting on TV and like, this is a hot new game, like it's free advertising for your game and people will probably go try it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about this show.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of weird episodes later on. Like I was also trying to get away from, like, there's like one episode where I think all they play is Dragon's Lair, or they all have to play. It's some weird one like that because it's clearly like an ad for Dragon's Lair.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's others where it's like a full-grown adult versus young child, and it's just like a very weird visual. Like it'll be like some 35-year-old guy with a mullet, who has some sort of like regular day. He doesn't have a mullet. Let's say he has a regular day job of some sort. He's a project manager for, Wayne Computers or whoever was in Silicon Valley at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, here's some 8-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And then there was another one that I was thinking of including where like, it was a team and the team was a father and daughter, but they owned a grocery store or maybe it was a convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
And the father, like, he must have played those arcade games a lot when they shut down because he just like smoked, like he played like Dig Dug and knew exactly what to do to max out points in Dig Dug.
I don't think I've seen that.
He's a ringer.
Wow. So I wonder why they took it off archive.org.
Someone owns the IP to it, I'm sure. You know, you can't just post anything on archive.org.
Yeah, I wonder if they just wanted. See, I have an ad blocker, so when I go to their site, I don't see any ads. But I wonder if that's what they were going for, to try to pull content to their site or pull views to their site.
Yeah, it could be. So someone called Shout Factory owns the rights to Starcade. And they've discussed having plans to reboot the show, but they never have. And I mean, obviously you can't just put anything on archive.org. Like, go ahead and like upload The Little Mermaid to archive.org and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, let's see what Shout Factory has. They have a lot of sci-fi shows like Farscape, Mystery Science Theater, all right. The Carol Burnett Show, which, I mean, that tracks. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They're not hiring. There's no. Oh wait, you could be a marketing intern or a publicity intern. So there you go.
Okay.
They're probably unpaid internships. I don't know if that's legal anymore.
I'm positive they are. Yes.
So any final or other thoughts on Starcade?
Nope. Just it's like I said, it's a really fun show to go back and watch. I always have always enjoyed it.
We've been making fun of it, and I do have a great time watching this show. I really do.
Yeah.
In fact, I could seriously think there could be a episode by episode podcast of Starcade, and really all the ones we'll cover in this little mini series.
I would not say that about one of the other shows we're going to cover.
True. Yeah.
We should not even have an episode. No one should have an episode about one of the other shows we're going to talk about.
Well, I guess, listeners, we'd love to hear your feedback. So please, watch this episode, or if you have other favorite episodes of Starcade, email at retrogameclub.net. Tell us about, if you've, played or like or dislike any of these games. So what was it? Star Trek? What was next?
Wacko, which they didn't play.
Yes.
Burger Time, Q*bert, Millipede.
Yes. And also all the other games that they had to guess. There was some trivia in there too, wasn't there?
There was trivia. The trivia questions aren't, it was like, what sort of animal are you in Puyan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was one of them. Again, they're really not tough. They weren't like, if you were in an arcade for 5 minutes in 1983, you would probably get all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. That was just to see who got to pick the game, which didn't seem to matter.
Did not. Now, I'm wondering if there was a little bit of strategy, because the final game is that one it's one you pick, right? Because the winner had to pick it. So I'm wondering if strategy wise you're trying to save the game you think you're best at for in case you win.
And then also you could let the other person pick the first games because you could watch them play it first and see what not to do.
Right. So really tanking the question could help you in that regard, right? That means they go first.
Yeah. Did we just rig Starcade?
Yeah.
Did that just happen?
So, but yeah, that's what I think. What must have been like, maybe the guy who thought he was going to win happened to be really, really good at Burger Time and was putting that off because he thought, okay, I can nail that. I just have to barely beat this other person in like Q*bert and Millipede and whatnot.
Now, do they take home? Is there a way to take home an arcade cabinet after every episode, or is that kind of a unique thing?
No, every episode. That's the grand prize, and it's pretty. My recollection is people don't win very often.
Yeah. Well, you have to pick the right game, the mystery game, then you have to beat the score.
Yeah.
Not easy.
Not easy. No.
Well, all right. I think that that finishes up part 1 of this miniseries, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next time.